Hi guys, my Joe here of Love Wrestling. Welcome to Night 1, or Love Wrestling reacts here to Night 1 of WrestleMania. Just for those, either if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, make sure and give us a follow so that you get a notification whenever we're going live. I said we're doing a bunch of stuff today that we've done. You can go and check that out. And of course, tomorrow we've got a whole bunch going on for Night 2 for WrestleMania as well. But before we get to all that, let's go around here. Just to my immediate right, I guess, if you're watching on the screen, Mr. Canadian Goose back here on Love Wrestling. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, buddy. How? Oh, fuck.
Technical difficulties already.
Starting off strong.
How's it going, brother? What did you do? General thoughts on Night 1 for WrestleMania here before we get into all the details here?
It was great, other than the rain delay. I seem to be on a brain delay myself here.
Well, a little peeling back the curtain a little bit for me as well. For that first little bit, I was actually recording Turnbuckle Rewind, the upcoming episode, because I had a feeling that the weather was going to kind of be a factor, and it ended up being that. So I actually had time to get the majority of that recording in without missing much of the very first match. So yeah, the rain delay kind of actually helped me out a little bit, but maybe not quite so much with the production tonight, but they did overall pretty good job. Also, right below me, John from Wrestling Plug Inc. Welcome back to Love Wrestling, sir.
Hey, how's it going? Glad to be back.
What did you think just in general for Night 1 for WrestleMania here?
I thought it was a solid start. I mean, they played it kind of safe. I don't know if the weather had any kind of factor into maybe some stuff they wanted to do, but overall, for just being back, being able to have fans, crowd, it was a good showing, good solid start. That's all I can say really on that.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely say, before we get into the details here, that I thought overall there was a lot that was good. That obviously wasn't perfect. No show is, but we'll get to kind of the details here. For me, though, right off the hop, again, this is maybe just the old school wrestling fan me. I mean, guys, I've been people watching and listening. I've been watching wrestling since the early '80s, right? So for me, your main event, usually your title matches, usually happen at the end of the night. Well, they decided to open up with the WWE Championship match right off the hop. I guess that decision kind of it is what it is. I know there's mixed opinions about it. What do you think, Goose, about them opening up with the WWE title match?
I thought that it was a good idea to open up with the title match. I do think that maybe the rain delay kind of dampened it a bit.
It was pissing down rain. They got rain on hard there for a little bit.
Yeah, well, right before that, you saw they were cutting to the announcers, and then you saw all the people leaving, and then you saw another shot of the announcers wearing full-on rain ponchos, and then it looked like the announcers were calling the match from in front of the desk during the first match. There, it was a little weird, historic, I guess, in the fact that there's never been a rain delay before. I would imagine the WWE will never ever run a WrestleMania in an open-air building ever again.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. The match itself was fine. It didn't light my world on fire or anything. I thought that the finish with the MVP distraction was really weird. MVP just yelling something distracts Drew McIntyre so that he can't hit his move, and it's there's 100,000 people in this building or whatever amount of people there is, and all of them are yelling. Why is MVP suddenly, hey, what do you why does that distract him at all? He should have grabbed his foot or something. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think they had, what was it, 25,000 approximately there. We even saw the usual the two guys that always sit on the hard cam seats. So those two guys were back. Haven't seen those guys in over a year. But I had the green shirt guy, and we had the collar and elbow guy there as well. What did you think, John, about them opening up with the WWE title match for the curtain jerker match, essentially?
Yeah, open up hot. I think what they were hoping was they were trying to test those reactions and get the big pop for Drew and Lashley. And when Lashley came out, I didn't get quite the reaction.
No.
I thought he was going to. It was kind of quiet. Maybe that was just me, but it didn't sound like there was much going on there for him. Yeah. So maybe they didn't get quite what they were looking for there. But yeah to Goose's point, MVP yells at Drew McIntyre with no fans in the crowd.
Right.
Every Monday night, and it doesn't bother him. And then all of a sudden, at the biggest moment, of the title match, he's like, "Oh wait, what?"
Definitely a little strange. I mean, if there's that much noise going on, why would just one of their voice cause such a major distraction? Right?
I honestly wondered if MVP missed his cue or something.
It almost kind of looked that way. I would definitely agree with you on that. He said, here, actually, Spencer in our chat here saying he literally yelled lightning. I didn't pick up on that. So I did not pick up on that. For me, saying you meant that he got a cheap laugh out of that, I would definitely agree. For me, myself, maybe a bit of an unpopular opinion. I thought, just given the way that Drew won the title last year at WrestleMania with no fans, and it felt like a bit of a kind of a dull moment for him, I thought this was kind of the opportunity to put the title back on him in front of fans to really have that real kind of winning championship moment in front of fans. For me, that's what I wanted to see. I'm not disappointed by the match by any means. I still thought that they did fantastic. I just maybe would have put it back on Drew.
That would have been, that would have been where I was leaning, but I think the way that they kind of fumbled giving Lashley the title to begin with, it's really quick to pull it off of him, especially how much they've invested into him. So maybe give it SummerSlam. Maybe they run this back. You'll have more fans than you probably had tonight as things progress. Hopefully. So maybe that's where they're leaning there.
For sure. Next up, we had. I don't know what you guys thought about this one. This one kind of not necessarily rubbed me the wrong way, but it didn't do a whole lot for me. We had this tag team turmoil match here with just basically all our women tag teams that have been thrown together. It was sort of like a golf style match. Goose, what did you think of this?
I thought it was pretty good. I thought all the girls were like doing some interesting stuff. I felt the Riot Squad had some really cool like double teams in there. Other than there was one really awkward like wheelbarrow into a shoulder thrust type thing that was kind of dumb. But other than that, I thought all their double teams were pretty awesome. I thought Billie Kay was incredibly like funny and hilarious. She was a bit clunky when she was in there with Lana.
Yeah.
But I thought overall I really liked it. I would say the Riot Squad was my favorite team in the match for sure.
Yeah, for sure. For myself with these multi-women's matches, nothing against women's wrestling. I love women's wrestling, but when we involve all these people, it just the matches feel so rigid. Like the girls just aren't able to kind of flow all that well with each other. Like it always feels like, I can see, okay, no, this is supposed to happen here, this is supposed to happen here. Then there's not a whole lot of improvisation in between when I watch a lot of these multi-women's matches. I don't know if anybody else feels that, but that I always get that impression. Like elimination chamber matches, these big tag team matches, that just it doesn't feel like a flowing type of match that we're used to.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like, I would imagine that it was probably rehearsed quite rigorously. But then again, you never know. Like, I was concerned that, with the 45 minutes they wasted on the rain delay, that time was going to have to be cut somewhere. And I honestly expected it to be in that women's match. But, like, I don't know. Like, it's hard to say. Like, it seemed like a pretty decent lengthed match to me. It didn't seem like they were rushing.
What did you think on that, John?
All I'm gonna say is my girl Billie Kay has a pin at WrestleMania over a former champ. I'll take that all day.
For sure.
But no, overall, it was a solid match. I really enjoyed the Riot Squad. I'm a huge Ruby Riot fan.
I thought that they were going to win.
She actually is from my neck of the woods.
Like they were setting it up for that.
For her, and they should have won. Yeah. They're the only real tag team in the mix, and the Tamina Natty thing, that's the best they've been together, but we've seen that, been there, done that, and it's just like I'm thinking to myself, next week, what are we gonna? I mean, not next week, tomorrow night. Who's really like? It wasn't Natty and Tamina the heels there. Now we got the heels. What's going on there? I would have liked to see the Riot Squad finally get their moment and then take those tag team championships and do what they were supposed to do with them, and go across brands and be that workhorse tag team, which I think that they could do. So
yeah,
I mean, overall it was solid. It wasn't who I had picked to win. So, and plus I think they kind of blew the thing by having Billy Kay and Mella out so early, considering that they threw them together as the surprise team. But that's just me.
Definitely.
I also thought it was a bit weird the way like Natty had the girl set up for the sharpshooter and then just like abruptly stopped so she could tag her partner in so she could do the big splash. Like, why don't you just put her in the sharpshooter and then like she can splash her like head or whatever, you know? It's a double team. Like it was weird.
For myself, because being a Canadian wrestling fan, and I've always been the biggest Natalia fan out there, but I mean, being one of the more prominent women's Canadian wrestlers out there, just my concern now is she's got to share a ring with Nia Jax, which is always a concern for me, for anybody that I like it that has to share a ring with her. I just hope that she doesn't get hurt. That's all. Don't hurt Natty, or otherwise you're going to hear a lot from me, Nia, if you hurt her.
I wouldn't be too concerned about Natty. I'm sure she can hold her own. Like,
my concern isn't her. It's Nia Jax.
More concerned like if Nia Jax hurt Natty, that Natty would just go after her and beat the fuck out of her. Excuse my language.
Well, we'll see with that one. Next up, I don't know about you guys, but this was my match of the night. We're talking Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. These guys went just under 12 minutes in this match, and guys, this was fantastic.
It was yeah, it was really good. I was taking notes, and then I got to this match, and I was just like, okay, I can't just stare. Like, I'm staring at my notes here. I'm missing like half the match, so I sort of like eased up on the note taking at that point, and just enjoyed it. And there was some really great stuff. There was one sequence where Cesaro pulled Rollins off the ropes, and he like backflipped, and it ended up into a pedigree somehow. It was really great stuff, really, really good stuff. And then when Rollins did the roaring elbow to the back of the head, I was like, oh, that's Chris Hero's finish. He just did that on his partner. That's cool little thing there. Yeah, lots. I really, really liked that match. I thought it was probably the best match of the night for sure.
Oh, for sure. Our friends at Putting You Over are saying that this match was 12 minutes. Yeah, it was actually just under 12 minutes. It seemed like it was a little bit longer than that, but I mean, guys, they finally did. They finally gave Cesaro his WrestleMania singles moment. Props to WWE for doing that. I mean, if there's anybody that's earned that over the last while, it's Cesaro, man. The crowd loves him. I mean, he looks fantastic in there. I mean, he's got everything you want, and they finally gave him that kind of big WrestleMania moment. Props to them.
Yeah, and good on. I mean, I thought for sure some slimy way Seth Rollins would win that match, but honestly, they kept it pretty just straightforward.
Yep.
Like you said, 12 minutes of a banger of a match, and Rollins took the L, which he's bulletproof at this point. I mean, he won me over with the rain delay promo he cut on that. He kept calling him Michael, and he's like, "My name's not Michael." It was hilarious. So I thought given that promo, they'd give him the win. But no, the Cesaro finally getting that W at WrestleMania on a solo push. And hopefully this means more for him. They do this, they stop and they start him. I hope that they kind of keep going with him and get him into some title pictures. And because everybody sees it. Everybody knows that Cesaro all around is one of the best performers in WWE. So why not, get him into some serious storylines?
Yeah, absolutely.
I also thought pretty hard when Rollins did the corkscrew spinning splash.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
That was impressive. That was a bit of a throwback. He used to do that a fair amount, and good to see that again. IC title against Big E. If Big E can hold on to that title, absolutely. Yeah, Big E versus Cesaro. Sign me up for that.
Cesaro versus anyone. I'm down with that.
Dude, he could put on a good match with a broom, or I guess maybe if you're Kenny Omega with a blow up doll, he could have a good match with a blow up doll, maybe. That's maybe a little ridiculous, but anyways, so next up we had this was an interesting one for me. I'm typically not a huge tag team wrestling guy, but this was interesting for me due to that one big guy in that corner. Of course, we're talking about AJ Styles and Omos versus the New Day, Kofi and Xavier. We finally got to see Omos do some stuff in the ring. I was kind of impressed. Dude look like he's huge and he's imposing. He wrestles like a big man should, in my personal opinion. And this was interesting because they didn't use him right away. They just had him there kind of being that imposing figure, and then he went in there and started kicking ass.
Go ahead.
Go
ahead, John.
I was just saying, I thought for sure they were going to pull the old AJ does all the work and we don't see Omos at all.
Yeah.
That's how, and I was like, all right, is he going to come in? Is he going to come in? Because if they're going to debut the man at WrestleMania in a tag team title match, he's got to be good, right? So that's what I was waiting to see. And I absolutely dug the New Day kind of shit talking the whole time and
Right.
almost playing the heel part of this role.
Yeah.
I was feeling bad for AJ for a minute there.
That was kind of my issue with this match was, I mean, aside from the very poor build, like, you know, you built this match up with the game of like Pictionary. It was the dorkiest thing I've ever seen. But then like when they actually started wrestling and like I'm watching this after my internet and TV came back on, we got like I don't know why, but in the end of it, like middle of April here in Edmonton, there's a goddamn blizzard going on outside.
You guys can keep the snow. I'm kind of I'm in Southern Ontario. You can keep the snow out west there.
Oh yeah, no, I'm like yesterday was completely clear, and then today I went out and everything's covered, and it's still blowing. And so yeah, I kind of lost connection there for like 5 minutes and was panicking. But anyway, when it came back on, I was like, okay, the New Day is like putting heat on AJ Styles here, and they're building for this hot tag. But I'm like, wait, isn't AJ and the big dude supposed to be the heels? And it was a little confusing to me. I was like, who is the baby face here?
For sure.
So this setup by design. You guys are up in Canada. I'm down in Indiana. So this.
Yeah, I totally did that on purpose. Yeah.
Okay, I figured you did. I knew you were on top of it.
Not at all. It was just totally by coincidence. So do we do a long title reign with AJ and Omos and just have them blow through everybody, or like how do you go about now that you've got the belts on these guys? What do you do?
By everybody, you mean the 3 other teams on Raw? Like,
it's no secret that tag team wrestling on Raw and SmackDown is pretty dismal at this point. There's not a whole lot of standout teams, so I get it, but. I mean, you got to do something with Omos. I mean, you've got something huge there, literally and figuratively. That you got to find something really good to get this guy to sink his teeth into.
This is the one I don't have any answer for. I don't know what like you said. Do you make it a long reign? You do short, sweet? Do you break them up? I'm interested. This one, I'm like super intrigued to see what they do Monday night. What's the next move for this? Because I didn't expect this to be the tag team title match at WrestleMania. You have the Hurt Business before you broke them up. That'd be a great title match at Mania.
Right.
But they went this route. I'm interested to see what happens.
For sure.
Go ahead.
I was
just going to say that I think that if they're going to have AJ and Omos as the baby faces, that a match between them and Miz and Morrison would be really great, because the Miz and Morrison tag match tonight was awesome. Really, really fantastic. And I think that I'd really love to see just AJ Styles wrestle John Morrison like one-on-one. I think that would be like killer. But if you've got those other 2 elements in there, yeah, I would be very down to see that for sure.
Chelsea here in our chat, bring up something that could probably be like a larger topic on most podcasts out there. AJ and Omos were supposed to be the heels, but how can you not cheer for both of them? Well, traditionally in professional wrestling, you're only supposed to cheer for one side of things instead of both sides, because then but again, me being an older school wrestling fan, that kind of stuff drives me crazy. I know a lot of new wrestling fans just cheer for whoever, but it throws off the whole dynamic and the feeling when the bad guy is getting cheered, then it's like it throws the whole storyline and everything out of whack when that's the kind of stuff happens. At least for myself.
He's right though. Like they were totally like, Omos and AJ were definitely the heels when they played Pictionary. And then they come to this match tonight, and New Day is trash talking them, and they spent the entire match building up to that almost hot tag, right? And then once he got it, he came in and he kicked everybody's ass. How could you not cheer for the guy?
Yeah. Next up, we had, I think this one was pretty polarizing with a lot of people here. We had the steel cage match with Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon. That another one of these ones that didn't really have much of a build. I guess the build was Shane calling Braun stupid and then pouring green slime on him.
That report card thing was awful.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, just playing the calling him stupid angle. I mean, just like, what are we in grade 5? Like, I don't know. Just it felt really, really silly and just forced. Like, we wish we had to get Shane into a match so that we could do something stupid, for lack of a better term.
I mean, I would think that like it's more stupid to like pick a fight with a dude that's like 3 times your size,
right?
Then make it a cage match. Like,
man, a guy who can literally like peel the cage open to boot, which he ended up doing in the match.
Yeah, I liked the match. I didn't think it was horrible or anything, but it was just the most like, this is what it is.
So, I mean, I thought it was so much more investment. I could have had so much more investment if they would have just put more effort into it. That's my problem. And this match is one of those examples. Literally, the setup to this match was calling the guy stupid and pouring green slime on him. Yeah, that was supposed to get you invested in the match.
Just to get Shane to jump off of something, and really, he didn't do typical Shane McMahon jump.
I thought he was going to jump off the pirate ship.
They just
that's what I was up for.
Kind of threw him off the cage onto the ring. So I was like, if that's what you were going into this match looking for, I would have to say you're slightly disappointed because it wasn't a grander, bigger like deal. And I don't know again if that had to do with rain or factors or
maybe
they played it safe just for whatever reason. But yeah, this felt like a Raw thing you do at a main event at Raw. If I'm being honest, we didn't need it at Mania. That's
felt to me like the kind of thing you do in like 1999, and it would be like Shane McMahon versus Kane. Like I think it would have been like super over back then.
Yeah. Once again, just saying thanks for everybody with all the comments in the chat here. We're actually getting so many of them. I'm actually having a hard time keeping up. If I don't post them up, I apologize. We're just getting a ton of them flooding in here. So thanks for that, guys. But yeah, the typically I like these steel cage matches, but this one just again, I think if we would have had more to get me invested in it, I would have been more into this match. It wasn't bad by any means, but just it just didn't really resonate with me at all.
There was definitely some weirdness to it too. Like they just like Shane McMahon just rips off a part of the cage at one point, attacks Braun Strowman with it, and then just randomly pulls out a toolbox that's being stored at the top of the cage for some reason.
And he clocked him with it, and then he got up right shortly afterwards. I also thought that was really kind of odd. Like he hit him cleanly with it, and then he got up like 5 seconds later after that and climbed the cage to chase after him again. That really felt out of place for me. Like that should have almost ended the match there.
Yeah, and then there was definitely a point too where Braun Strowman was clearly like he was on the outside winning this match and like could have just let go of the cage and got on his feet, but he chose to go back in, power slam Shane McMahon, and then pin him in a cage match. And I was like, WWE cage matches, are you allowed to pin people? Like, I thought you had to escape, but.
The rules have always been a little sketchy in these kind of things. Sometimes the rules apply and sometimes they don't. But for me, I mean, I've always thought that you could either win by pin or submission or by escaping the cage. At least that's how I always thought a steel cage match worked.
Yeah, I don't think you should ever pin somebody in a steel cage match. I think it always should just be escape the cage, because then it's like, well, you just pinned him. That's how I feel. I
guess it depends on the wrestler. I mean, if you're like the clean babyface type of wrestler, I think you would like to get a clean pinfall in the ring. If you're a chicken shit heel, you're going to climb your ass out of the cage and try to escape, right, without having to do much. It all depends on your philosophy.
That's fair.
It definitely makes sense, but like that, like I say, like there's always like there's been cage matches where it's escape only, and then some where it's like pinfalls are allowed, and
it's when they start getting into the Hell in a Cell, which always kind of bugged me, because the idea is with the Hell in a Cell is we got to keep these guys in here. But they get out every single time. They end up on the top, or there's other stuff kind of going on, right? So at least in the steel cage,
when they don't go out of the cage, it's like disappointing,
right? Yeah, for sure, right? Because I always thought that was weird too. They built a structure to keep them in there, but they always get out. So in the steel cage, at least that's an option. You can actually climb out of there. So. But at least Shane didn't do too stupid of a stunt, which you mentioned, John, because of the weather, or he did take a pretty big bump off the top there, but at least it wasn't like climbing up to the rafters. So
yeah, he landed like straight up on the back of his shoulders too. Like it looked like a pretty gnarly bump to me for sure.
Shane's not a spring chicken anymore either. Dude's taking big bumps, and I'm just worried that each one that he takes is going to be his final one every single time. I mean, just it's always scary watching Shane, the stunt man, do these things. It's yeah, but at least he didn't go too crazy.
Said, like, there's a lot of hate for Shane McMahon, and like I get it. His punches are pretty trash, but
yeah.
I enjoy watching Shane McMahon. Like, legitimately, I've some of like the Shane McMahon versus Kurt Angle match is like one of my favorite matches.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was by far the best match on that show that it happened on.
Yeah.
So like I don't get like all the like, oh, Shane McMahon is like, he's trash, he's not entertaining or whatever, like, because he has done some incredibly crazy shit, and you don't do that stuff unless you absolutely love wrestling.
Yeah, because he doesn't have to do it.
So, mad respect to Shane McMahon.
Like, yeah, and one of the biggest pops I ever had is when he came back a few years ago for that first run. Back after years, I was like, Shane's back. So, I mean, I dig Shane McMahon. I think, to your point, the build of this was just not anything that anybody outside of maybe, fifth graders could really sink their teeth into. And I just need a little more meat on the bone for me to be like, this was a great match,
Yeah. I'm kind of the same. I love the style and all the stuff that Shane does when he starts breaking out the punches, though. Like, it's again, being an older school wrestling fan, it's the kind of stuff that bothers me. Listen to Al Snow, and if you really listen to some of these guys, he'll tell you that the punch in pro wrestling is one of the fakest things that you do in pro wrestling, and everybody does it now too much, right? And it's just one of those things. We're throwing all these little punches. I'm like, you're not even, and a lot of times it doesn't even have any effect. So it's like, why are you wasting your time throwing a bunch of punches at the guy when he's just going to bounce right back?
And one of the things I've heard too, just from like people I know, like I know a guy that was like in a segment with Shane McMahon, and he actually just stiffs the shit out of people with those shitty looking punches too. So it's like, it doesn't look good and it hurts.
Yeah. If he lands with something, I mean, it wasn't like what was it in AEW when Dustin was on top of one of the Dark Order guys throwing punches on him, and they were like landing 2 feet away from where his head was. It wasn't that bad, but I'm not a fan of like doing his little flurry. I mean, I like the shuffle and stuff that he does like that, but when he starts throwing like the punches, it's a little hokey for me. But I always love Shane McMahon, if only for the crazy ass stunts that he's done over the years and still surviving. I mean, I'll always remember King of the Ring with him and Kurt Angle again, and literally dumped on his head on that concrete twice, or maybe even 3 times if I remember correctly. I mean, dude is not human, I don't think.
That match was sick, yeah, for sure. I mean, at least like I think the worst was when Shane McMahon was like busting out like MMA holds and doing like triangle chokes and stuff. I was like, I don't buy that Shane McMahon could beat the Undertaker in a fight,
right?
Any day of the week,
Spencer saying more Shane talk than more Shane wrestling tonight. He might be right, actually. He might be right. Next up, we had a tag team match between, this was originally slated to be Bad Bunny versus The Miz, but Damien was like, no, it's going to be me and Bad Bunny versus The Miz and John Morrison. Before we get into the match and everything here, did John Morrison lose a bet or something? What was with the hair, guys? What was with that hairstyle?
I thought his hair was awesome. I thought it was spectacular.
Johnny Drip, baby.
To each their own, I guess. That was like a super mullet. That was some pretty fabulous looking hair, to say the very least.
It was pretty much the most douchebag hairdo you could ever have, which is the idea and the point. And I thought it was fantastic.
Josh in our chat saying he looked like Mickey James. Yeah, that's it. That's definitely a fair statement. Yeah,
I thought Kofi Kingston had a wonderful hairdo tonight as well.
Not too shabby. What did you guys think of Bad Bunny in the wrestling ring? He it wasn't anything that blew me away, but he definitely did better than I was expecting him to do.
Yeah, he did some cool stuff. The hip toss where he kind of botched it a little bit, but he did end up landing on his feet. Then he arm dragged the guy. I thought that was really cool. I do remember one time Miz grabbed him and went to like shit can him out of the ring, and Bad Bunny went face first into the
Yeah, that was a
ropes, and I
little
was like,
nasty,
whoa,
yeah.
that would have hurt.
Yeah.
But like then he came back and he was doing like all kinds of crazy dives to the floor and like a Canadian destroyer on the floor. I was like, oh, this guy's a pretty, he's not bad.
Yeah,
Like
for sure. The
for
Spencer
his
Cena guy
experience
too.
level, like this is
Yeah.
what his like second match. Like
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's one of those things where it's tough because I'm a Damian Priest fan going back to when he was Punishment Martinez in Ring of Honor and like the real ass kicking badass that he was over there. To see him kind of playing second fiddle to a celebrity in WWE kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit, but I get it.
excuse me, I'll be right back.
That was enough to get him to walk away. What did you think on these guys, John?
Oh, I kind of found myself a little lost in the match because I was just so intrigued with what Bad Bunny was doing, and I was like, wow, they're really giving him a lot of this match. And
They did, yeah.
Playing second fiddle to Priest, but I thought Priest played it very well. I loved his look tonight. I thought those pants were sweet. I thought that this is a great way that if you're going to introduce Damian Priest to a wider audience, this is the best way to do it. And Bad Bunny, man, I gotta give the guy credit. We were just talking about Shane McMahon, the credit. I mean, the dude's putting in the work. He's showing up, and he looked like he took it serious. Sometimes you get those celebrity matches, and you can kind of tell that they're not invested in it. Yeah. You could tell he really wanted to put on a good performance there, and Miz and Morrison helped carry him to what I thought was a better tag team match than I thought it was going to be. That's all I could say on that.
I'd be interested to know who he did some training with, because I mean on the NXT side of things with Pat McAfee, we know that he spent a fair amount of time training with Rip Rogers, which I mean it's tough to find somebody better to kind of train under, especially under the traditional aspects of professional wrestling. So I'd be curious to know who Bunny was training with.
I think I heard Drew Gulak was involved a little bit with his work. I mean, don't quote me on that. I saw that or heard that somewhere, and I thought that makes sense. I mean, he's there. They're all at the Thunderdome, so and Drew Gulak knows what he's doing, so that would be the guy to train him or at least help out.
For sure, because that's always my kind of issue with these celebrities in matches are the ones that don't really kind of take it seriously and kind of get really invested in it. Now, the ones that actually put in the time and even are willing to do a little bit of training, got to give them props. And Bunny didn't look terrible in there, so I got to give him credit. He looked all right.
No, I think he had like probably the best celebrity performance I've seen in a match. I mean, the only other one I can think of that was really sort of any good at all was Stephen Amell on the SummerSlam there once. He did
even better at All In with Christopher Daniels. That was even better. He looked really, really good there with Daniels at All In.
Yeah, for sure.
He did. My girl Snooki did it.
Yeah, Snooki. Snooki. Oh boy, isn't she in the WWE Hall of Fame now too, or something silly?
She should be. Not. She should. Hands down.
She should be. I don't know about that one, guys. I don't know about that one.
More power to her. She took more bumps than Drew Carey.
Oh, he was up against Kane, so I think understandably so. He got the F out of there before Kane got to F him up. So I definitely understand why he didn't spend much time in there. So for our main event for the evening here, guys, Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship. This was very well done. Even at the beginning of the match here, there was some genuine emotion bouncing back and forth between these two, and Bianca, for her first kind of real marquee headlining match, she did pretty damn good in there.
Oh, I thought it was a phenomenal match. It was that was I don't know if I think that was like just as good as the Cesaro and Rollins match. There was definitely more like emotion and stakes involved,
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't just like, oh, she launched a goofy political campaign against me, and they're there and they're fighting for the biggest prize in the game, in the main event, the biggest show in wrestling, and the only one to have fans in like over a year. I thought they killed it. They absolutely like. Bianca Belair did some amazing stuff. Like she just horked her up at one point and just walked her right back up to the ring.
That was impressive. Yeah.
She is incredibly strong. And there was another one where she did a delayed suplex, but like she had to dip her down a couple of times and bring her back up, and like that would be really, really hard to do for sure.
You know, every time that I watch Bianca in the ring, like just her athleticism and what she's able to execute in that ring, it might not always be flawless, but I mean, she looks so like compared to the other girls, like she just looks like she's somebody that really kind of takes it seriously, even just like in her appearance, physicality, just like the her build, like she looks like she's just like leaps and bounds against most of these other girls.
But she's definitely like built.
Yeah.
They made me forget about the botches in the build to this, because this was like when they announced that this was the match. I said it needs to main event WrestleMania night 1. I know night 2 is going to be Roman, and I said got to do it. And then they did all that goofy stuff with having them tag and Reginald. But like the second they both got out there in the ring, I completely forgot all about that.
Yep.
The two best women on the roster in most circles, going one-on-one, them holding back the emotion because they knew what they were doing. They knew that this was a historical moment at WrestleMania, and they were about to tear the house down. And I can't say I was disappointed in the slightest with any part of it. I might have did a little less hair pulling if I'm Sasha Banks, but
Yeah.
you know, if I'm splitting hairs, pun intended. But no, it was a great moment. I like that they ended it with her holding the belt and they didn't do any shenanigans at the end.
Yep.
Let her have her moment in the spotlight. EST all day.
That shot with the hair, where she basically like whipped her across the midsection with that, dude. That was loud. Like,
did they add in that sound effect?
She put some mustard. She put some gusto behind that, man.
Course,
like, she hit her hard.
She must have like napped her leg or something for that to get that sound, you know? Like I have no idea.
I didn't see that any kind of
like a gunshot.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just a piece of hair. Like it wouldn't legitimately make it sound like that, you know. But
remember, leg and thigh slaps are supposed to be banned in WWE now. So
well, of course, Michael Cole goes, "Oh my God, Sasha Banks is now paralyzed," and at the same time, Sasha Banks moves her hand, and there's no mark. And I was like, "Oh, Michael."
Rule number 1 when it comes to Michael Cole and commentary: whenever Michael Cole says something is cool, it is not cool.
That's like Michael, just be quiet.
Oh Jesus! But I mean, yeah, fantastic. And you know, some people saying that that Sasha kind of carried Bianca in this match. I would almost make the argument in the opposite. I think it was kind of like Bianca like carried Sasha, almost carried herself in this match. She didn't look like Sasha was calling her like the rookie when she did not look like a rookie in there whatsoever. I was highly impressed with Bianca's performance in this match. She made me a believer. I wasn't big on her in NXT, but I mean, she has really stepped up her game. I have high hopes for this girl.
I mean, was it a 5-star absolute banger match? No, but I think in the situation with all that emotion running high on both ends, it's not going to be seamless and perfect. So I think they both played off each other very well all night. Yeah. I think they both carried each other at certain moments in the match. So that's my take on it.
Even Spencer saying that they both look great and they kind of carried each other. That's exactly the impression that I got. Mm-hmm. And a great way, I think, to wrap up night 1, and it exceeded my expectations. This particular match, again, there were some kind of down kind of moments, but was it a bad show by any means? Absolutely not. I think that they did really well with fans back in the arena too to boot. So, and as always too, like just the production work. I mean, WWE does a top-notch job, with the aesthetics and just how everything looks. I mean, the stadium looks incredible. Even all the fireworks that Spencer doesn't like.
I like that they do the I know that it was because of the rain delay, but all that like pre-game interviews and stuff, like I'd like to see them do a little bit more of that. That was a lot of fun because a lot of those guys and gals had to improvise. And then I think they definitely, like you said, they played it safe. It was a solid show. They knew fans were going to be back. They were going to be excited. So they didn't have to pull out any kind of tricks or crazy storylines because we knew overall we were just happy that it was a WrestleMania in front of people, back to some semblance of normal, and it played really well. So I'm excited. I mean, that's a good lead up and build into night 2, which that card looks even better than tonight. So
for sure,
that's going to be live, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not filming night 2 like right now while we're talking.
No, it's going to be live.
Okay, like I remember during the rain delay interviews they were doing. At one point, Big E walks up and they're like, "Oh, Big E, you're wrestling tomorrow." It's like, well, why is he in full gear right now if he's not wrestling until tomorrow? Like
Stays ready, man, so he doesn't have to
Yeah.
get ready. Big
For
E is
sure.
always ready to throw down.
For
I
sure.
thought Big E and the New Day had like the best of the pre-match promos, like the rain delay promos, which I did like the fact that, like you say, there was some unscripted stuff for a change because like I said, I tried to watch that Raw a couple of weeks ago where they had the report card thing and the game night between the New Day. I was just like, this is some horribly awful, like, I don't know who's writing this trash, but like none of it's coming across
Soap opera
natural.
writers.
I
That's
don't
who's
want to
writing.
see them. I don't want to see these guys like fighting. Like
Yeah.
AJ Styles to me is not somebody that should ever be hyping his matches with games of Connect 4 or whatever.
Right. The problem is, like you'd mentioned, the writers. The majority of WWE's writers are former soap opera writers. They're not writers that are used to writing for professional wrestling. A lot of them have been there for quite a while, which is why a lot of this is kind of going on. And you have to remember that quite a few of these talents that have come up to the main roster, so to speak, are former independent wrestling guys or girls, and they're used to just going to the shows, and the promoter just says, "Okay, just come and do your thing, and you want to do a little something extra, then go ahead." They don't hand them a script and go, "Okay, you need to say this and do this." Right? They're not used to that. They're not actors. They're professional wrestlers, right? So
I can 100% like vouch for that. Anytime I've gone to the ring and cut a promo, it's been like, "Hey Goose, just go, say something like this, da 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 da, maybe just," and then I go out there and I make it up on like off the top of my head while I'm in the ring, like. If somebody actually handed me a script, I'd probably be like, "Oh shit!"
Right? Professional wrestlers are some of the
freak me out,
Pro wrestlers are some of the best improvisers that I've seen of all time. The really really good ones are so good at being able to improvise. They're not good at rigidly doing something that's scripted. It's just not the way that it kind of works, right? Because things never go as planned.
100%. I was like an improviser. Like I did improv comedy before I became a wrestler, and those skills have helped me immensely in wrestling. Like
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. One thing to make note of too, typical WrestleMania fashion, we gave a little preview for next year's WrestleMania in 2022. We're going to be live from Dallas at that AT&T Stadium. That's a big stadium that they're going in. Hopefully, we'll have fans there for that. So
wasn't that the one where they broke the world record for like the most people? Was the last time they were in Dallas?
For an indoor stadium, I think that's as big as you can get in the States, in the U.S. If you were to go for big outdoor venues, you'd have to go to Michigan Stadium, the Big House, to set a kind of record. And people aren't going to want to go to WrestleMania in April in Michigan, unfortunately. Otherwise, they could really break all the attendance records if they were to have a show at the Big House.
At the Big House, go Irish.
Yeah. For sure.
Well, like I say, I don't think the WWE is going to be looking to run any more outdoor shows like ever, because like
they will.
That really like tonight that could have ruined the entire show. Like
yeah, but you could have rescheduled around it.
I mean, and Mandy Rose slipped in her entrance. Did you guys catch that? I mean,
I'm surprised more people didn't slip.
Yeah, there was some spots where it's like, oh, that could get hairy, but
yeah,
it worked out. I think they pulled it off.
With her, it would have been almost nice to see her like a wardrobe malfunction, but we didn't get that, unfortunately.
You get the ring wet, and it becomes really, really, really dangerous.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, we're not going to go through all the matches for night 2, but what are you guys looking forward most to for night 2 out of all the matches that we know are going to happen? What about you guys?
I'm looking forward to Edge and Roman and Daniel Bryan. I think that'll be fantastic, and also Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Like Kevin Owens cut a hell of a promo tonight too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really looking forward to that.
What about you, John?
Just to be different from those are 2 matches that are at the top of my list too. But Rhea Ripley and Asuka, I'm really interested to see if they're going to just do go all the way and have Ripley and Belair and start a new kind of era with the women's division. I think she's due for this. I mean, it would be nice to see Ripley get a W at Mania, considering last year you don't want to do that to her twice in a row. But that's the one I got my eye on. It's top of the list for me.
Yeah, for me too, it's Asuka and Rhea Ripley. I'm really hoping that they'll put the title on Ripley because, I mean, she's been working her ass off too, similar to Bianca Belair, and I think she'd just be fantastic as that champion. I would also like to pick Big E versus Apollo Crews, but now that it's a Nigerian drum fight, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. It's a little tone deaf, especially modern day. I'm not really sure about that one. I know that Vince in the giggle position is finding that hilarious, but I don't know about that one. But for me, it's Oscar versus Rhea Ripley. That's the one that I'm looking forward to. I hope they pull the trigger and put the tail on her because, damn, she's good.
No argument there.
All right, guys. Well, I guess that about wraps it up here for night one for WrestleMania. Before we go, though, let's go around and Goose, where can people find you on social media and what you're up to these days?
Unfortunately, Alberta is now back in pretty much total lockdown, which sucks. Which means you can find me at my house, I guess, watching wrestling. My social media, I'm on the Twitter at Canadian Goose KS. I'm also I'm on Instagram at I believe at the.canadian.goose. I'm on Facebook as Kyle Shaw. I do have the Canadian Goose page on there, but I just friend me as Kyle Shaw because that's the one I actually post on. Also, Pro Wrestling Tees. I've heard that there might be a sale going on right now. If there is, definitely go check out Pro Wrestling Tees. Just search up Canadian Goose. I've got this lovely T-shirt on there, as well as another T-shirt that was designed by one of the other wrestlers I know, Cameron Stevens. So check that out because definitely you buy a T-shirt. It really, really does help me, and I appreciate it. And I can't wait for our shows to actually start up again so that, I can go to the show and see a bunch of folks with Canadian Goose T-shirts on all honking while I kick some ass.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching professional wrestling live in person again, too. I mean, it's long overdue where I'm at in Ontario as well. John, where can people find what you're up to over at Wrestling Plug Inc.?
Like you just said, at Wrestling Plug Inc. on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That's where I do most of the damage. WordPress, I do some independent wrestling spotlight series. It's a lot of fun. I love that's my baby. I love putting over as many independent wrestlers that people don't maybe get to see every single day on Monday Night Raw. So please go check those out. I got a podcast dropping with the Call Up podcast on Tuesday. So you can find that on my social medias. I'll be dropping that. So give that a look. And I believe I'm here for night 2 of WrestleMania as well for this. So you'll catch me here at Love Wrestling. So
very cool.
I should plug my podcast as well.
Absolutely.
I completely forgot to. I'm over on the Backbreaker Media Network, run by Mike the Ref. He's definitely check out Backbreaker Media Network. They just put up the Clandestine Society show, the second act of it, the first episode. Check that out because there's some amazing wrestling going on. It was actually filmed at the location where I trained to wrestle. Unfortunately, I was injured at the time that they were filming it, so I wasn't able to take part this time. But also on Backbreaker Media Network is my podcast, Monday Night Shaw. My most recent guest is KB6 from Monster Pro Wrestling here in Edmonton. Actually, he was with Monster Pro, and then he went over to RCW, which is where I wrestle. And he spends pretty much the entire podcast talking about why he left MPW and came to RCW. And it's a story for sure. I've got Sweet Daddy Soul coming up, not this Monday, but next Monday. And that's a great episode as well. Sweet Daddy, of course, he's just won some tag team championships in Puerto Rico. He's been wrestling regularly in Mexico. He's a good friend of mine, so I was happy to have him on the show. So check out those episodes of Monday Night Shaw on the Backbreaker Media Network when you get a chance.
There you go. See, I knew you had more going on than just sitting at home watching wrestling. You got all that going on. Plus, you're on here with us with Love Wrestling. So you got lots going on.
Of course. Yes. Right. I think we're going to be doing some video game stuff soon, too. Are we not?
Yeah, looking forward to that, man. I'm excited about that one. You guys are going to enjoy what we're going to be doing there. And, of course, just a reminder, again, if you're following us on Facebook, YouTube, or on Twitch, make sure and subscribe, follow, hit the bell, notifications, all that good stuff so that you always get notified whenever we go live so that you can always catch us here. So, and
we should also shout out Rich King in RK Athletics there.
Yes,
as,
I was actually just
Homeboy
going to say
sponsoring
that.
the show.
There.
Yeah,
It's
RK Athletics, and thanks for sponsoring this wonderful platform and the show. Thanks a lot, guys. We greatly appreciate it. And apparently, I'm not. I'm getting kind of old. I'm not sure what these kids are calling raids on Twitch now, but apparently we're going to be doing some type of raid. So after we finish up here, we're going to be doing that. I guess it's kind of allowing somebody else to stream on our platform. I don't know exactly what it is, but Spencer's taking care of it.
I think it just means we send all our Twitch followers to another Twitch channel. I could be completely wrong though, because like I'm probably older than you are.
Who knows? What we can maybe talk about that later. But yeah, apparently, essentially, we're hosting another show on our platform, and then they can do vice versa. I think that's how that kind of works. All right, I guess that about wraps up here for tonight, guys. Make sure and stick around for tomorrow. We have a lot going on. We're doing Sunday brunch. We're doing the POS show, and then we're gonna watch WrestleMania, and then we're gonna be back here talking about the reactions of it. It's gonna be a busy, fun day tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll see you guys on the next one.
Honk, 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 honk.